but what do we have coming up ahead?
We've got more freeways. I have a feeling this driver is just going to stay on the 5. He has not crossed over to the right side of the freeway at any point, looking to merge onto a different freeway. But we are in Burbank right now, approaching Glendale, so we've got the 134 coming up. We haven't heard anything about who this driver is and what destination he might have in mind. I think he's just trying to get away. But you do see that ground unit, that CHP unit behind this in hot pursuit. That car has been following very closely behind. We haven't seen that CHP unit really close the distance between the pursuit driver and themselves. And you see this is still speeding down the 5, exceeding 100 miles per hour. If he goes any faster, I mean, we might have trouble even keeping up in a helicopter. But look at him go, still 100 miles per hour. And for him to consistently be driving this fast, I mean, this is not possible when there is heavier traffic on the 5. So we'll see how long it is before he does something else and tries to get off the freeway, because he is going to run out of fuel at some point.
Yeah, and if they guzzler too.
And if they run out of, if they were to run out of fuel to get off the freeway, then we would be talking about, you know, other agencies maybe joining in. But I'm just wondering how many CHP officers are behind this driver right now. And secondly, Julia, is this the kind of situation where they might call this off because it gets too dangerous? Now, thankfully, we're not seeing a whole lot of traffic right now out there at the noon hour. But I'm just wondering, like, what are we looking at as far as manpower behind this SUV?
So I'm counting 4 CHP units, at least 4. There's traffic ahead, so we might see this driving behavior finally change. But that's right. I mean, sometimes we do see law enforcement decide to give up on pursuits because it's simply too dangerous. I mean, how many crashes have we seen during pursuits where bystanders, where innocent people are hurt or their property is damaged? But there is traffic up ahead. I'm going to widen out and show you what this driver is in for. And you see him weaving in and out of lanes. He's had a clear shot down the 5 since this started, but we're nearing a patch coming into Glendale, again, near the 5 and the 134, where he's not going to be able to drive the way that he has, exceeding speeds of 90, 100 miles per hour.
All right, so we have here at 1218 a dangerous situation for anybody who is driving on this 5 freeway right here, approaching the 134, the 5 freeway. You see it there. This driver, we've been monitoring it, has been in and out, weaving in and out of these lanes. Fortunately, there wasn't too much traffic, but now, as you're saying, Julia, we are starting to see a little bit more traffic there. And this driver will have to make a decision whether or not he will stay on the 5 freeway or the 134.
That's right. This is slowing down now just a little bit. I mean, still exceeding 60 miles per hour, but you see traffic is really filling in here, and it looks like this driver is going to stay southbound on the 5 freeway. I'm staying tight on this car right now, but behind it, I did count at least 4 CHP vehicles, and again, they did request the airship, their helicopter, so they could be adding additional resources to this pursuit, but at some point, you know, this driver is bound to run out of fuel, so it's just a matter of where he decides to stop and then what he decides to do after that. In slower traffic, I mean, we've seen pursuit drivers give up, get out of their own vehicle, and then carjack somebody else to keep on going. But every time he veers out of that left lane and starts heading toward the right, I zoom in because I want to see if this driver is making moves to get off the freeway or perhaps making moves to pull over. That's one thing we have not seen yet. This driver, this burglary suspect, has not made any moves to give it up. So with that in mind, I think CHP is going to put additional resources into this and see what they can do to safely apprehend him, because the way he was driving before and the way he's still veering into and out of the shoulder, look at that. Yeah. Squeezing between other cars. I mean, this is incredibly dangerous for anybody on the road right now. Again, southbound 5. We're in Glendale now, and it looks like this driver decided not to get on the 134, so still southbound 5. And when I zoomed out briefly there earlier, I saw the black and whites, the CHP units on the ground. They didn't have their flashing lights on. So if you're just in traffic, you're not tuned into the news, you don't have your alerts turned on, you may not know there is a pursuit zooming past you right now.
Yeah, you don't know until that person actually goes past you. Then you see the CHP officers. Julia, you've been on top of this. It all started about 12 o'clock. We want to tell you it started as a following, as most of these things do, a failure to yield. And robbery suspects in this vehicle, so they're going to want to be very careful with this. I would expect they would get that helicopter up. The agencies would, the CHP or Sheriff's Department would be up above this just to continue following, because such high rates of speed that we have seen makes it difficult sometimes for those ground units to stay on top of it. So far, they're doing a good job. And as you mentioned, as they came into Burbank, traffic started to really back up there. I would imagine you have lunchtime traffic. People are out and about right now. But boy, you said it when you mentioned that people just aren't going to know what's coming up behind them. And that's where the danger comes in. And you add to that the desperation of the people wanting to get away.
In the shoulder, straddling that yellow line now. I'm looking out the window of News Chopper 4, and I am seeing finally a law enforcement helicopter over this. It's not CHP. It's actually an LAPD airship. So, Kathy, you mentioned earlier multiple agencies possibly getting involved if this continues. And now we had LAPD overhead, CHP on the ground. Last I checked, the ground units did not have their lights on. So other drivers may not be aware that this is a pursuit. Certainly, they've noticed this car because it's moving faster than everybody else, and it is still driving in the shoulder here. But still southbound 5 did not take the 134. It has been on the 5 freeway this entire time, speeding up now. It was doing about 45, 50 miles per hour, and I think this driver now finding this clear path down the shoulder is now driving at about 60, 70 miles per hour. And Kathy, Annabelle, I'm going to hand it over to you at the desk. We've got to take care of some technical issues up here. We will be right back with you.
All right, Julia Dang, thank you very much for that. We're going to use her image there, but we want to get to Isabel Diaz. She's with the CHP. Isabel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Isabel, let's talk about the game plan here. We clearly see that this is a dangerous driver weaving in and out of these lanes, and now we're starting to see more traffic on that 5 freeway. What's the game plan?
The safety of the public is always the most important thing, in addition to even the suspect and the officers that are involved in the pursuit.
And Isabel, can you tell us how this all started and what we're looking at right here? Do you have any idea how many people are in this vehicle, or really what started this?
So CHP was notified to be on the lookout of a white SUV involved in a robbery earlier today, and our Newhall units did locate that vehicle and ensued in a pursuit.
Do you have any information where the robbery occurred? What kind of robbery?
Unfortunately, I do not have those details.
So what do you do in a situation like this when you have robbery suspects? Obviously, they're desperate to get away. How do you keep the public safe in this situation?
We continue to pursue the suspect, and we'll do so until we can get him into custody.
Isabel, can you confirm that there is only one person inside this vehicle, or do we believe that there could be another person inside?
Unfortunately, I do not have the details at the moment on how many individuals are inside the vehicle.
At what point will you guys decide to pull back?
Definitely when the safety of the public is that's the main priority. So if we notice that maybe we're, off the freeway in a residential area or around schools, that's when we would hold back. Or if we know the identity of the suspect, we would no longer pursue. There's a lot of different variables and changing factors in a situation like this. And, of course, the public safety is the main concern.
But we see him on the freeway driving at these high rates of speed here. Will you at any point pull back from this, even if he continues driving on the freeway?
Ultimately, it's going to be the officer's discretion, right? Does he perceive that the safety of the public is in danger? If so, we may need to.
All right, we'll continue watching with you. Isabel Diaz from CHP, thank you so much for adding some context to this from the department. We want to switch back to Julia Ding. She's in News Chopper 4 and has been following this pretty much since it all started around Magic Mountain. We understand robbery suspects in this vehicle. Newhall police spotted them, and so now this has continued and going at speeds of over 100 miles per hour. at some point. But now we're seeing much more
look at
traffic.
that.
And look at
that.
this.
Just hit an SUV right in front of it. Another white SUV still southbound on the 5. Look at that. Both cars still going. Does not look badly damaged, but it definitely just hit the back bumper of that white SUV.
This could ramp
And this
things up,
pursuit
Julia.
driver is just squeezing on by, continuing southbound down the 5. But that's exactly what we were just talking about with Isabel Diaz, how dangerous these pursuits can get. And I don't envy their position having to make decisions about when to call these off and how to do so, because you have to make those decisions so quickly, because that's how fast these pursuits move. And that crash fortunately happened when this driver was not moving quite as quickly as it was earlier, because there's so much traffic right now. But the driving behavior has not changed.
Okay,
This
so
is the longest I've seen this driver stopped for on the southbound 5 since we got over it. I'm going to zoom out and show you the ground units behind it. They haven't really closed this gap. They've been maintaining quite a bit of the distance behind this white SUV for the duration of this pursuit, but you caught a glimpse of the helicopter over it again. LAPD now has their helicopter over this. They're tracking this driver as he continues down the 5. And look at that driver moving out of the way because they see this coming. It's been enough time now. I imagine other drivers on the freeway know this is happening. They know this pursuit driver is coming down the 5 freeway, and they just have not made any moves to get off the 5 or to give it up.
you know, again, this driver keeps going back to the shoulder. That could also mess up one of its tires. We do know that there's some nails. There's a bunch of stuff that's on that shoulder that oftentimes will destroy a car's tires. So that is that's a tricky situation there. But we did see that SUV hit another SUV. I believe that SUV just went off to the side, pulled over, which is good. But yeah, at one point, you know, that's what I asked
right over there.
You've got to
you
wonder,
saw that
when are they
light-colored
going to pull
sedan that
back?
veered out of the way. Look at how this driver is going. I mean, he's right on that line. He's coming up so close on all these other cars. Some of them are swerving out of the way. Others, they probably don't know this is a pursuit. But Annabelle, literally, as you were talking about nails and debris in the shoulder, I saw something flying out from under the wheels of this car. So I don't know if this has sustained tire damage already. I do know that when they set up spike strips earlier near the 14 on the southbound 5, this driver did not drive over the spikes. So I haven't heard additional chatter about CHP attempting to set up additional spikes. I don't know what their strategy is at this point. I think they're still trying to figure out who's in this car, if there are passengers in this white SUV being pursued, wanted for burglary, but they're trailing behind it right now. They're maintaining that distance and keeping an eye from overhead from the LAPD airship.
Julie, I do see it that it's kind of bouncing a little. I don't know if that's normal or not because of the speed that it's going, but I did notice that. So I don't know if maybe it, you know, it could have a fractured, blown out tire there.
Possibly, and we're going to try our best to take a peek from the other side as it slows down as we come up on traffic here. This is now, it looks like this is transitioning. We're in Boyle Heights now, East LA. Looks like this might be transitioning from the 5 to the 10. But you're right, Annabelle. I see it bouncing a little bit. If I had to guess, I would say it's the front passenger side tire that might have sustained damage. I think they might be closing the gap now. I see these black and white speeding up just a little bit, so I'm going to stay wide. We don't know what their strategy is, but they're definitely still in hot pursuit. I don't believe I see their flashing lights on, but now on the right side of the freeway, might be exiting the 10 now. We're now in Boyle Heights, East LA. And again, this started near Santa Clarita, coming up dangerously close behind that black SUV. And it hit the brakes just in time, avoided a second crash here. But we caught that first one live when it rammed into the back of a white SUV. We are now westbound on the 10 freeway. Westbound on the 10 after traveling southbound down the 5 from Magic Mountain.
And they may be seeing the same thing we're seeing. You're seeing that car, that SUV, a little bit out of control, maybe fishtailing a little bit. You were talking about bouncing. They might be seeing that, and that's why they want to close the gap right now.
Yeah, it could definitely have some type of punctured wheel there because it was driving on that shoulder. So we know that there is a lot of debris on that shoulder. But yeah, it's traveled from the 5 freeway from near Magic Mountain area, past the 134, past the 170, of course, as well. But now then past the 110, Julia, and got onto the 10 freeway.
That's right. It went through that East LA interchange, really busy area. Now it's westbound on the 10 freeway, and there is quite a bit more traffic on the West 10 than on the South 5. And this driver, I think it just hit yet another car. This is westbound on the 10, and look at how it's driving. It was another minor fender bender, but it definitely hit the back of this white car.
Why do this when you can change lanes? I don't understand.
I think this driver is having some trouble with the car. Okay, I'm seeing some movement now. I'm wondering if this driver might be making an attempt here to bail very soon.
Julia, can you open up
now he's on the move again.
Just widen up a little, yeah. Just wanted to see, because this driver could have gone to the right side, to the right lane, and chose not to. So what happens to the car
when we try and figure out why they do what they do, right? Like, why do that? This doesn't make sense. If he's trying to stop, he could pull over on the right side. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to this driving behavior anymore, but this is still going westbound on the 10 now. And I'm about to lose count, but I think it was 2 crashes, 1 near miss. And this driver has not stopped for any of these accidents. And I think the drivers who were hit, they all looked shocked. That first one, that other white SUV that was hit on the South 5, they stopped. And I think they were expecting this other driver who hit them to pull over, but that absolutely did not happen. This is still going. And we are now passing Alameda on the West 10 after this went through the East LA interchange.
All right. Thank you so much, Julia. We're going to stay with your picture right now. We'll get back to you in just a moment. It so happens we have one of our reporters. We have NBC4 Jonathan Gonzalez. He is actually just a little ways behind this pursuit. Jonathan, what are you seeing? What can you add?
Yeah, so we were in the Griffith Park area working on a story, Kathy, when we were watching the pursuit on the NBCLA app, and we saw how close it was getting. So my photographer, Jorge, and I, we jumped in the van, and we decided to get on. We were just about a half mile behind the chase when we first jumped on the 5 freeway, just past the 134 there in the Griffith Park area, and we saw several units on the ground, including motor officers, chasing behind it. But, you know, as you've seen in the last several minutes, that driver using the shoulder was able to cut through traffic that we're simply not able to legally or safely. So the driver is now in that East LA area, you know, passing Boyle Heights, I think, you know, just last check in El Sereno. So we're probably 3 to 4 miles behind it, but, you know, we're going to continue following this area. But what we can tell you is that there's a lot of traffic right now, and that is certainly because of this chase. You see the driver is able to move and weave and through all these cars. We're not seeing that. We're seeing a lot of cars right now on the ground, and that's all because, you know, the CHP is just up ahead of us, and people are, you know, heeding to the officers' lights and sirens right now.
Jonathan, did you at any point drive by this driver?
Not at all, no. Unfortunately, we hopped on just as it was passing the area, but that's when we saw, as Julia was referencing, the LAPD chopper finally come into view. Initially, all we saw were the news choppers. We saw our news chopper 4 flying overhead. That was the first chopper I saw. And then you started seeing an LAPD chopper flying at high speeds to try to catch up to the chase and finally get overhead.
What about ground units? Any past you or any lights and sirens?
We did, yeah. We saw CHP SUVs, some ground, you know, typical ground units. We also saw one motor officer using the shoulder, just like you know, the chase suspect was using to try to get away from units on the ground. So it was interesting that they're using the same tactic as the person who is leading this chase right now to try to catch up.
You know, what's interesting, Jonathan, is that while you were talking, we believe we saw this white SUV sideswipe somebody else's mirror. So it has already hit 2 vehicles and now sideswiped a mirror from another car. So again, this is a dangerous situation for anybody who's on the road right now. And you've got to wonder, when will they pull out?
And you guys, I can't stress enough, there's always traffic at this time, especially in these areas near downtown on the 10 freeway. You would think at around noon, 12:30 on any given day, there's not a lot of traffic. That is certainly not the case. That's why this person continues to use the shoulder as I'm watching along with you in a very dangerous manner. I did think we would see that white vehicle that the driver crashed into from behind. We did not see that vehicle, unfortunately, but hopefully they're doing okay. But yeah, this thing needs to come to an end. And, they're just going to only hit more traffic as the chase progresses.
And can you imagine what that driver was thinking? The person who is being pursued here had an option to go to the right, to choose another lane, but then just bumped into that car. That's 3 so far, as you were saying, 1 mirror off. You have to imagine, yeah, they're going to stop and think, someone just hit me, a little fender bender, but no, it just takes off, and you see CHP behind them. Jonathan, we're seeing right now, I don't know if you're watching along with us, I think you are now, it's pretty traffic-y right now, and that's when the driver gets even more desperate.
Absolutely. And, the shoulder tends to come and go depending on where it is. Here, where we are, the chase was maybe in this area 5 minutes ago, where we're driving now in the Boyle Heights area. The shoulder tends to end in certain spots, and that's why you saw that driver being forced to move away from the middle divider there, and that's when those crashes were happening. And so, we're just hoping that this all comes to an end, and we're getting on the 10 freeway now. We're transitioning onto the 10 East, so hopefully we can catch it. They're just ahead of us, maybe 2 to 3 miles.
All right, and you are seeing on your screen, a split screen there. You see it there. That was the first car that we saw that this SUV hit. So that SUV, you saw 2 white SUVs there. And then a few minutes later, it hit another car. So again, it's a dangerous situation. This driver is just weaving in and out of these traffic lanes, mainly driving on that shoulder whenever. Jonathan, you mentioned that the shoulder comes and goes here, but you clearly see it has been taking advantage of the shoulder whenever it is available. But again, I've been noticing that it's been bouncing quite a bit, and I don't know if if the driver's tire is messed up, has a punctured tire there, but we're closely monitoring it. Of course, we also see those tinted windows, so we still can't confirm if there's only one person inside that car or if there's somebody else in there.
Yeah, right now we see it on the 10. Right now, we just passed Crenshaw Boulevard, and it's slowing down right now. And this is unusual for us to see the driver sort of just staying behind traffic.
You see those units passing by it.
Yeah, now making a lane change here, and we'll see if they decide what they decide to do. We have an airship above monitoring this. This is one of the few times we've been able to kind of see into the window. Some of the back windows very tinted, so we're not able to see what's in there. But we know it's robbery suspects that are being pursued right now, so authorities are going to want to be extra careful.
You got to wonder, will officers stop traffic at some point? Just try to hold back this driver and see what happens, because again, this is a dangerous situation. This driver has been driving really fast, but look at this, what's going on here.
Yeah, so someone is changing lanes and blocking that driver right now as they widen out from Julia's shot to get a look at what's going on through traffic. There we are on the vehicle right now, and what we have seen so far, Annabelle and Jonathan, 3 little accidents where this driver has just been so desperate that they have hit the back of cars, and one car was sideswiped. So a lot of damage out here, high speeds, very dangerous to the public, and the CHP and the LAPD overhead wanting to get this to an end.
All right, Julia Dang, are you with us?
Yeah, and I'm back with you now. This is still westbound on the 10, and yeah, as Jonathan was talking, we saw this SUV sideswipe yet another vehicle. If I recall, it was that dark-colored pickup truck, and I'm getting some more information now. No confirmation yet, but I'm hearing chatter that CHP might have spotted a rifle, a weapon inside of this vehicle. So we've been trying to get a clearer shot. We have not seen any passengers, haven't heard anything about additional occupants. For now, it's just the driver we know who's wanted for burglary, and then I'm hearing this male driver might have something on his face, possibly a hoodie, possibly some kind of mask, but the back windows of this SUV are darkly tinted. We can't see anything. We just see his arm right now. You can see it's visible through that driver's side window, but yeah, multiple accidents already, and this driver has made no moves to pull over. CHP was talking about running a traffic break when this was still southbound on the 5. I haven't heard additional chatter about that now that it's westbound on the 10. We're crossing through the West Adams area right now, and there is pretty significant traffic up ahead. It's definitely more jammed on the 10 than it was on the southbound 5, so they may not need to run a traffic break. Something is going to happen where either this driver runs out of fuel or he comes up on such heavy traffic he has no choice but to come to a stop or exit. And look at that speedometer in the bottom left-hand corner of our screen. This is down to about 70 miles per hour now. I mean, freeway speeds, but nothing compared to what this driver was doing before, about 100 miles per hour when we were following this down the 5 freeway.
And Julie, you mentioned that there was some chatter about a rifle being in the vehicle.
That's right. CHP believes this burglary suspect they've been pursuing since it was coming down the 5 in Magic Mountain might have some kind of weapon. No confirmation yet, but that is the chatter that we've been hearing on the CHP scanner.
All right, Julia, thank you. We're going to check in with Jonathan Gonzalez. He is there in traffic, happened to be covering another story in the Griffith Park area, and then saw this pursuit, got on the road with his photographer, Jorge Diaz, and they were pretty close behind this pursuit at one time. Jonathan, where are you now?
We are now on the 10 westbound. We initially were on the 10. We're heading toward the 10 eastbound. We realized that the 10 westbound is where this driver is and still driving there on the shoulder. We do see some CHP units at several different exits. And we do see traffic starting to build up ahead of us again, likely because the chase is just a couple miles away. I would say we're in the downtown area, coming up near USC, approaching the San Pedro Street exit. And I see that the driver at last check is in the West Adams area. So, again, maybe just 2 to 3 miles behind. Don't think we're going to catch it as this driver continues at high speeds, but they're only going to hit more and more traffic as we approach the 405. And so we're going to try our best to see how close we can get to this chase, obviously in a safe manner. And you know, by that time, Kathy and Annabelle, hopefully this has come to an end. This is a very dangerous situation. As you mentioned, Kathy, earlier, so many people on the freeway, they don't even know what's coming. And the drivers who've been hit by this driver, they quite literally don't even know what hit them. They're hit. They're trying to figure out if they're okay, if their car's okay, and this driver is gone. And that's what makes this so dangerous. That's what makes this such a precarious situation, how quickly this person, with no regard for others on the road, thankfully, though, you can still see those CHP units there on the ground right behind it.
Jonathan, and I was just going to ask you whether or not, I mean, just from your vantage point there and driving with everybody else, if there's any indication. I mean, you know that there's a pursuit, but does anybody else know? I mean, do they see the CHP behind it? Do they see the helicopters? You know, that's a big question for so many.
You know, that's a great point. No, as far as if you look around, you would think everything is normal. And if I didn't know this chase was happening, I would probably think there's a chase just up ahead of us. You had no idea. People are, you know, we're going maybe 40 to 50 miles an hour at the fastest because there's just general normal traffic for the day. So, no, and I think when a chase is coming up, and this has happened to me long before I was a reporter, when a chase comes at you, it happened to me on the 110, you have no concept of what is happening. All of a sudden, you see this car fly by you, and then you see several units fly past you, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's out of your vantage point. And so that's what makes it so dangerous in these situations, because you don't even have time to react in certain moments. Now, every now and then you will see a driver try to block the driver. We never want to get involved in a chase. Officers stress that all the time, but if you're just driving, this is why you got to be on alert at all times. Someone could be just zooming up behind you, and that could be a chase.
And Jonathan, you were on the NBCLA app. You could see what's going on. You were on this so quickly. You said you actually saw the police helicopter arriving to do surveillance.
Yeah, so we initially heard, I got out of the van because we knew it was approaching the Griffith Park area. That's where we were doing our story. And we heard News Chopper 4. I looked up. I could identify it right away. And News Chopper 4 and Julia, they were right overhead. And all of a sudden, from seemingly out of nowhere, at a very low altitude, we saw the LAPD chopper approaching the chase. It was not over it at that point. It was certainly trying to catch up. And that's when we realized, oh, here it is. It's arrived. It got here before we knew it. We hopped on the freeway right there by the zoo, and we've been following it ever since.
All right, and you see that split screen there moments ago. You see that side swipe coming up right there. You see it. So that was the most recent incident that we saw involving this SUV. I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking at that left front tire. It looks really low to me, and I don't know if it's a flat
Oh, it's
tire
very
now.
low. It looks flat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That left side in the front is flat. And that's what Julia was talking about. She was pointing out, she thought it was something to do with the front. Annabelle, you said it seemed bouncy. There it goes. And I thought it looked a little fishtaily. So definitely having some maneuverability issues now. And that absolutely looks flat. However, we have seen vehicles continue on flat tires before. And so that does not mean this is over just yet.
No, and you've got to wonder, at what point will this driver just pull over and give himself up? Again, we don't know how many people are inside this vehicle. We do know that there's at least one person, and we've been hearing chatter, according to Julia Dang, just a chatter that she's been hearing from officers, that there was a rifle, that this person could have a rifle in that vehicle. So we're trying to get more information. Our team is definitely trying to gather some more information.
Yeah, we also understand this may be linked to something that happened in Bakersfield, so we do have calls in to find out what that's all about. We do know robbery suspects. We know this was supposedly a traffic stop. Car took off, and that happened earlier around 12 o'clock. Let's check in with Jonathan Gonzalez again. He has been behind this pursuit. He was covering a different story, but then heard about this and got right on it. Jonathan.
Yes, so as I'm watching along with you, we do see that left front tire, the driver's side tire, now flat. You can only imagine how much more difficult that makes it for the driver to maneuver that large vehicle. And you're hoping that that's a sign that this is maybe starting to wrap up here. I'll let you guys. What are you guys seeing?
We're seeing the tire, parts of the tire just literally fall off. The wheels are coming off right now, and he's pulling over to the side.
Yeah,
now on the
tire is
side.
shredded. This pursuit, I think, is finally coming to an end. You saw that front tire, the one that we zoomed in on. I just put the doubler on this a couple minutes ago because we were talking about how it looked flat, and you can see now it is completely shredded, and this driver is now pulled over on the side of the 10 West. I'm going to zoom out, and we should see CHP ground units coming up on this now. Yeah, this pursuit is over. This driver could not continue driving like that, but just moments before the tire rolled off the car, he was still traveling about 40, 50 miles per hour west on the 10.
Pretty dangerous at those speeds when you have that tire situation. Now, Julia, we're seeing the CHP in position. These are the vehicles that have been following. So now what they're going to do is make contact. I see an arm out the side of the window, and looks like they're going to open the door.
Yeah, they've got this driver at gunpoint. You saw that arm. You see this driver now complying, getting out of this SUV after quite a lengthy pursuit that we heard when it was in Santa Clarita. It was southbound on the 5 and then westbound on the 10. We're now in the Culver City area.
All right, we're having some trouble there, some connection with Julia Dang, but we're using Julia's audio. Julia, you're back with us?
Hey, Annabelle, back with you. You can see this driver giving it up, backing up towards CHP now. Massive police response here on the westbound side of the 10. This is in Culver City, just east of Overland.
And we had heard robbery suspects, so they're going to want to, as they do anyway, search that vehicle and give the all clear, correct?
Absolutely. That's what officers are going to do now, now that they have the driver safely in custody. That this is going to be a full freeway break here. And let me zoom back in on the white SUV, this pursuit vehicle. I don't see additional movement in it. I don't see the passenger side door opening. But you see this CHP officer coming up, guns drawn, and they're